full gear, and that lets you save. Look here.
True Form Life.
Green lookalike.
Welcome to another edition of Exploring Mind and Body. I'm your host, True Form's Drew Tadia, fitness expert. You've just tuned in to the only health and fitness show in Central Alberta. Today we're featuring Lentz Chiropractic with Michael Lentz in for an interview. We're talking about being in a good mood. All that and so much more coming up on...
This is Exploring Mind and Body with True Form's Drew Tadia, fitness expert on 96.5 CKFM.
All right, so we're back with Dr. Michael Lentz from Lentz Chiropractic. He's your local chiropractor. He's joined us for the second time, and he's going to answer some questions for us, and we're just going to sit back and have a nice conversation. Thanks for joining us again, Michael.
Well, thank you very much for having me back on the show. I really appreciate what you're doing with this show, and glad to be a part of it.
All right, thank you very much. So let's jump into the meat and potatoes, because we've had some good feedback, and we have some people interested in what you do. And I wanted to ask you the very basics of what chiropractic is.
All right. Well, probably the best place to start is with what we commonly deal with. And most common, we deal with back pain, which is very common. Most people have it at some point in their life. And we'll mainly deal with that by working with muscles and joints. If they're not functioning properly, if the muscles are tense, if their joints aren't moving well, that's something that we can then deal with. And ultimately, it all has to do with working with the nervous system. The spine is very closely related to the nervous system, has a lot of influence and effect on it. So if the muscles are knotted up and tight and the joints aren't moving properly, your nervous system isn't getting the proper information that it should. So it's our job to release those tensed up areas, get the joints back moving properly, and get the nervous system functioning better. So
what is it you specifically do? How do you target areas? How do you know what areas to manipulate to release these knots?
Well, we go through a full examination just to narrow down exactly what areas and structures are all involved. Because again, a lot of times it's muscles, joints, there can be tendon issues, ligaments. So we have to narrow down exactly what it is and what areas are all involved. Sometimes the actual problem area may be a little further away from where the pain is. So we need to figure that out first. And once we do figure that out, then we can decide exactly the best approach and the best way to deal with that.
Okay. How do you figure that out? What's your full body physical kind of, what does that consist of?
Well, it starts out by checking your ranges of movement. So that's just seeing how well the joints are moving in all directions and angles. We look at tension or tightness of muscles and how well they're moving, or if they're too short or tight or tense. We also look for imbalances. So posture is a very important one that we'll look at too, to see if there's some imbalances in the way you're standing or the way the muscles are functioning. So once we go through all of that, we can even do some muscle testing. We'll just feel how your joints are moving and how the spine is feeling, look for tender spots, and all of that kind of cues us in as to exactly where we want to deal with things.
Okay, so if someone wants a regular kind of checkup or wants a once over for maintenance, I guess I'm getting at, can people come in for maintenance if there's nothing wrong?
Absolutely. We say chiropractic care is great for everyone. You don't need to be in pain to benefit from chiropractic. A lot of times your body will be compensating and you may not even realize it or know it. And that's when we can catch things early, prevent and avoid problems. And basically we just look at improving the function of the nervous system to make you function even better than you already are, even if you're not dealing with a painful situation.
So if someone wanted to come and test out your services and there's nothing particularly wrong with them, they would just come in and book an appointment and come and visit you.
Absolutely. There's a number of tests that we can do, and a lot of times we'll uncover some small things that you may not have realized were there, or some imbalances, or joints that aren't moving as freely as they should. And we'll test the nervous system in a number of different ways to figure out areas that aren't working well, and then things that we can address to change that and improve the way you're functioning.
And if someone wants to get a hold of you to book an appointment?
They can call our office anytime, 403-507-2788, or you can stop by sometime. We'll try to get you in as best we can.
Okay, I wanted to address maybe a common myth or maybe some old school kind of thinking of chiropractic. And I've heard this in conversations after you were on our first show, and people are scared. And I would guess that you get that quite a bit. And I'd like to clear that up. I'd like you to clear that up for our viewers and listeners and people that are interested in your services that are a little worried about cracking and twisting and pulling. Can you let us know, if that's exactly what happens or if that's just a common myth?
Sure, yeah. A lot of people are a little nervous. They're scared the first time they come in. I think the biggest reason is because they just don't really know what's going on. So there's that fear of the unknown and really not knowing what's going to happen. Part of it, though, is everybody's a little different, and there's a lot of different treatment methods and techniques, and it depends on the person and their condition and what's going on. So you shouldn't let something like that keep you from coming in and getting checked or getting some help if you can. We don't need to do that kind of manipulation on everyone. There's a lot of different methods that we can use if you're more comfortable with that, or if we feel that that's going to be a more effective way of treating your situation.
So if someone wants to come in and they want to avoid cracking, is it possible for you to come and give them adjustments without that happening? Yeah,
the biggest thing is letting us know what you're comfortable with, what you're not with. Any kind of feedback definitely helps us to approach your case best and to find something that's going to be comfortable for you and still get us good results.
Perfect. That was a important question that came across a few times about the cracking, and some people weren't interested in it. But if there's a way to get the results that you can offer without the cracking, then I'm sure people would be more interested in using your services.
Yeah, that's certainly an option. And like I said, there's a lot of different methods and techniques out there and available to us. And we just need to tailor it specifically to the person to figure out what's going to work best for them.
Okay. And something I missed with the last question was for anyone for a maintenance stage or someone that's not injured or something's bothering them, just for an average person that wants to come and get what do you call it, a checkup? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, a checkup or a tune-up. Or
okay. How often would someone come and see you for some kind of maintenance stage?
Everybody's different. It's really an individual thing. A lot of times we'll go with kind of a roundabout average of once a month. It seems to be good for most people, but it really depends on your own activity levels, the kinds of things you're doing during the day, your postures, those kind of things. Some people can go a little longer without a treatment. Some people need it a little more frequently in order to make changes, especially if we're dealing with a painful situation or an injury. We usually need to see you a little more frequently initially, but then we want to stretch out that time between visits and just get you to a maintenance kind of a level after that.
Okay. And lastly, before we let you get going here, will you tell us why you do what you do?
Well, chiropractic is just an amazing healthcare profession. It doesn't use drugs, doesn't use surgery, and yet we have an amazing influence on the nervous system. We help people function at a much higher level than they otherwise would. And it's just great to see those kind of changes being made in people's lives, and love doing it.
That's perfect. We're so happy to have you with us. That's what True Form's all about. And this show is educating people and improving lives. So thanks so much for being a part of the show and what we're doing.
Well, thank you very much for having me again, Drew. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have you come back and answer more questions. Again, feedback is coming through, so we'll continue to keep moving forward and educating people on what you do.
Well, that's great, and thank you for all your feedback. Do appreciate it.
And one more time, how do people get a hold of you?
403-507-2788.
Exploring mind and body with True Form's Drew Tadia would not be possible without the help from the following sponsors: Lentz Chiropractic, AG Foods in Didsbury, CLC Fitness Center, Health Street in the Cornerstone Shopping Center Olds, and Shoppers Drug Mart, working together to help build a healthier tomorrow. For more information on True Form Life, Drew Tadia, or how to become a sponsor of Exploring Mind and Body, visit trueformlife.com.
We all have good days and bad days. It seems like it doesn't take much to wake up in a bad mood. And at times, it takes a whole lot to be put in a good mood. We all have different things that set us off and other things that make us feel good. We let other people influence our lives much more than we should. It's easy for a grumpy person who's clearly having a bad day to take out their frustration on someone else. At the same time, people can brighten our mood if we're having a bad day. I like to cruise around in my convertible with the top down. I can't say why. All I know is it makes me feel good. The other day, an older guy who looked like he was around 80, pulled up next to me, waited till I looked over, and he gave me a strong fist pump. I don't know exactly what that meant, but it was encouraging. Whatever I was doing, he was backing me up. I'm guessing he was approving the drop top. These things happen all the time, though. Some of us notice them as an instant mood changer, and some of us would rather carry on with our miserable day and focus on what isn't going well. I have a friend that buys an updated phone as soon as it comes out. He has a great phone that works perfectly well, but when the new version comes out, his old one isn't good enough. He's in the same category as the people who line up outside the Apple store when a new product's released, Or the same person that checks the internet when updates are available for a download or when it's time to stand in line? The average person doesn't understand these people. There's a select group who can't wait to be the first to have a new product. Although I'm not one of these people, I certainly understand them. As a devoted follower, it's important they're one of the first ones. This puts them in a select group of people who has a product before their friends or most people they know. What's more important than anything else I've just listed? It makes them feel good. That's why they do it, period. Many of us may not understand this concept, which is perfectly fine. The point I'm trying to get across is what makes us feel good and what can change our mood. The depression rate is extremely high and only continues to grow. Unfortunately, our society focuses on pills instead of solutions. So nothing changes with how we're feeling except the addiction rate of medicated drugs. When things aren't going well, we focus on what's not going well. We move in the complete opposite direction of what we're doing when things seem to fall in place. These times in particular, when we're not feeling our best, is a time we need to remember and mirror exactly what makes us feel good. If we don't do anything, if we don't get to the root, before long we're in a downward spiral of dark thoughts. The harder it is to get out. We need to do the little things that make us feel good. What always puts me in a better mood is giving. Why not donate when we're in a bad mood? It doesn't have to be money. It could be time or homemade gifts. Thanking people is another one. I like to thank people with surprise cards or small gifts, but usually a note is more than enough. How often do you get a thank you note and are angry that someone wasted your time because you had to open this card? Thank you cards go a long way. We don't get mail in the mailbox anymore. We get bills. Think how surprised and happy you were the last time you got a nice note or a handwritten letter in the mail, if it's happened in the last 10 years. Instant mood changers are what we need to focus on. I listed what makes me feel good because we all need to know what can instantly change our mood for the better. There's too many of us walking around miserable, stressed out, with little energy, all focused on the negative because our scope of being happy is much too small. It takes far more things to make us feel good than it does to make us feel bad. If we knew exactly what put us in a good mood, we'd have an amazing advantage in life. Could you imagine always waking up in a good mood? Always feeling energized and motivated? We all know other people are much more pleasant to be around when they're in a good mood. How about you? People like being around you more. Your kids and spouse, friends and family like spending time with you when you're in a better mood. If we could all change our mood instantly and feel better about ourselves, this world would be happier. It would be full of pleasant people wanting to help and spread good fortune. I truly believe if we paid closer attention to our mood and emotions, we'd make this world a better place. Just recently, I heard some exciting news. One of our members fit into a new pair of jeans. Every once in a while, I get to hear news like this. A member shares a story that brightens my day and helps me realize why I do what I do. Not only that, but another family member of theirs lost some inches too. This means our members and family members are seeing results, which is a true testament to members not just exercising, but learning how to live healthier lives. How exciting for me to hear. The sincere smile, the joy in a voice, eyes brighten, and an overall satisfaction that we can make a difference. No matter how big or small, if we can choose to help others, if we pursue what we're passionate about, we don't have a choice but to succeed. This was shared in confidentiality. Although I'd like to share whom it was, these stories aren't mine to share. They're for each individual to share with joy and excitement because they're the ones who achieved. They're the ones that showed up day after day, made a commitment, put in the effort, and they're the ones that get to share their achievements with others. Thank you to that person for sharing their story with me. Thank you for showing up, putting in the effort, and making a difference in not only my life, but in those around you. As a business owner, we seldom get feedback. In fact, as a business owner, a phrase that gets passed around is, no feedback is good feedback. The reason behind that is most times you only hear from someone when they're unhappy. Business owners are real people. Most times they provide a service that people want. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business. I think at times people feel it necessary to vent and focus on the negatives. They focus on what they wish they had or what's not being done right instead of what they're happy with. For this reason, I've taken it upon myself to write thank you letters to businesses or establishments when I've received a good product or service. I don't do this for any other reason except that it makes me feel good. To go out of my way to thank someone and make someone else feel good. I'd imagine this type of thing happens very seldom. And I think it would be great to see the look on someone's face when they open a thank you letter instead of a letter of complaint. Henry David Thoreau said, "You never give without receiving."